day 2 of the training. In day 1 of the training, I had taught you about the concepts of object-oriented programming, right? I told you how to download the jar files of Selenium, and I told you how to configure the jar files inside Eclipse. Okay. After that, I told you how to make a simple Java program in which you create the object of say Firefox driver or Chrome driver or iDriver, and you open these sorry yeah, and you open these drivers inside your systems, right? Now in case of Chrome driver, I told you that you have to include an exe file, and also for iDriver you have to download and include an exe file in the system properties. Okay, so yesterday we just opened up few different browsers and we navigated to some websites. That's it. Okay, so today I'll move further on, and the place where we had left yesterday was that I told you that each browser had a different driver class. Okay, each browser has a different driver class, and does that mean that each driver class will have its own set of functions? If I have to perform an operation, for example, if I have to write in an input field using Firefox driver, will it guys, yeah, I am back. Fine. So out here, Firefox driver is the class, okay, and Chrome driver and iDriver. So what I meant to tell you was that will each driver have its own set of functions? No, that's not the way it works. Fine. That's what I'm going to discuss today in the class. I'll create a new project day 2, and in this I'll start with the concept of interfaces first. I'll explain you the concept of interface in Java, and then I'll come back to Selenium and I'll tell you how interfaces are used inside Selenium. Okay, this is the source folder. Fine. In this source folder, I'll create a new class, or I'll create a new interface. Now, what exactly is an interface? Fine. Many of you might have said, if you buy a book, fine. If you buy a book, what do you look in the book on the first go? You look at the few initial pages, right, where you have the index page where everything is written. That fine. These are the chapters inside this book, and these all the topics will be covered. Okay, that's an interface. The book, the initial index page of the book is an interface which tells you what the book is supposed to do. All right, or very simple example being, you go to my my Firefox is updating. Hold on. Firefox cancel. Okay, so if you go to suppose my website qtpselenium.com, fine, you see that if you click on Selenium tutorial, this is the interface of my website. It tells you what all will be the part of the course. Fine. So interface basically tells you what the application is supposed to do. Okay, fine. So in Java also we have got interfaces. Alright, we create interfaces. For example, in source folder, I'll create a new interface and I'll call it say game. Fine, an interface called game. Now you can create functions like this: public void play, public void score. Okay, now in the interface you don't give the method bodies, you just tell that what the method will look like, what all methods are there in the interface, what this interface is supposed to do, what the application is supposed to do. That's what the interface will tell you. That's it. Okay, now suppose after this you have another class, for example football. Now football is a game. Fine, and I'll create another class say basketball. Fine. Basketball is also a game. Inherently, both these classes are games. Fine. And both these classes in Java we write that both these classes will implement the game interface. Implements game. That means both these classes will give bodies to the methods inside the game interface. If you look at the football.java class and if I look at this error, you'll see the error coming up over here, right? I can select this, okay, add unimplemented methods over here. Fine. When you select this, both the functions play and score come up. If a class is implementing an interface, it is mandatory for that class to implement all the functions of the interface. Okay. I cannot say that fine, this football class will only implement one of the functions like play. It will again throw an error. You have to make sure that this class football implements both the functions inside the game class. Sorry, inside the football class, the class implements both the functions inside the game interface. Right. This sign over here, @override, basically is like a marker. It's optional. You can delete it as well. It's not mandatory. But this sign tells you that this function is actually implemented from this interface. Okay. Inside this function, I can write system.out.println playing football, or I can write scoring in football, something like this. Okay. Similarly, I have the other game, basketball. I can write over here the basketball also implements the game interface because basketball is a game. Fine. So if you move your mouse over basketball, you will get this function, this option, add unimplemented methods. You can add them, and inside the play function of basketball, I can write playing basketball, and out here scoring in basketball. So I've got these functions play and score which are inside basketball.java, and play and score as well which are inside football.java, and this is the interface which both these classes are implementing. But what is the use of this kind of structure? I could have not made this interface, and I could have still made these two classes, and it would have worked. Okay. So alright, so now out here we have both these classes, football and basketball, fine, and I was trying to tell you that this is the game interface, and both these classes, football and basketball, are trying to implement the game interface. Okay. What is the use of creating a structure like this? I could have not made this interface, still I could have made these two classes. What is the use? The use is that this kind of thing, interface, it gives a structure to your application. First of all, if tomorrow I have 100 types of games, just by looking at the game interface, I can tell what kind of functions will be there in all the 100 game classes. Right, out here I just have 2 Java files. Secondly, I will know that each of these files will contain play and score functions. The play function of football is implemented in its own way. The play function of basketball is implemented in its own way. Fine. But the name of the functions in all the classes is same. The name of the function is same, right? The functions, they come from the interface. Okay, so this gives it a lot of advantage, because just looking at the interface you can tell that okay fine, these classes will have these many functions inside them. Okay, so in Selenium as well there are a lot of predefined interfaces. Okay, so
I have a
if you
question. I mean,
yeah, tell me.
yes, if I'm understanding correct. So first of all, you just create the interface, and in the interface, you created the class, right?
Yes, I first hold on. Where's the browser? Yeah, I first created the interface, and then I created the classes which were implementing the interface.
Okay, so can you just give us the disadvantage or advantages that yesterday you just directly create the class in the project?
Look, it's not necessary that you always create an interface and you create a class. Out
Okay.
here the scenario is different. I have this game class, and these are the two classes which are implementing the, sorry, I have the game interface, and these are the two classes which are implementing this interface.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
So, so that I can have same functions inside it. Yesterday I had a different requirement. I just created a phone class and I told you how to create the objects of that class.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Okay,
I'll come over to the bigger picture in some time. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So all right. Now if you go to Selenium, okay, if you open seleniumhq.org, fine, and this is the download link over there. Okay, this is the download link, and here are the Java docs. Okay, Java docs, they represent the Java documentation. Fine. Inside the Java docs, whatever is starting with italics is an interface. Okay, whatever is in italics is an interface. All right. For example, mouse. Okay, mouse is an interface, and these are the functions inside the mouse interface. Okay, these are the two classes which are implementing the mouse interface. So we know that event firing mouse and HTML mouse will have these set of functions inside them. Okay, similarly you have got an interface known as WebDriver. All of you know what WebDriver is, right? You must have heard about WebDriver. Okay, all of you know what WebDriver is. WebDriver is basically, technically it is an interface. Okay, technically WebDriver is an interface. All right, and these are the functions inside this interface. All right, and these are the classes which are implementing the interface. All the classes like Android driver, Android web driver, event firing driver. Okay, all these are the classes which are there inside the interface. Sorry, which is not inside the interface, I'm sorry. All these are the classes which are implementing the interface. Right? So all these classes will have the same set of functions inside them. That is, suppose this close function will close the window. So close will actually be there in all these classes. So it's not that the Firefox driver has different set of functions, the iDriver has got different set of functions, then Chrome driver has got different sets of functions. It's not like that. Each and every driver class has got its own set of functions, right? And all these set of functions are same. Okay, each driver classes will have these all functions, and the names of the functions will be same. So if you have to close a browser in Firefox and the function is same, close. Alright, so this makes it quite unique. That's why yesterday when I made this file known as Selenium example.java, the get function in Firefox, get function was there in Chrome and get was there in IE. Right, and the get function was responsible for navigating the browser to a particular URL. Similarly, quit function was there in all the three browser drivers, because it's implementing the same interface. Quit is coming from the WebDriver interface. I hope you are understanding the point, right? So out here, guys, there's a background noise from my side, right? I hope you are able to understand this concept, right? The drivers are different, the function names are same because they are implementing the same interface. Alright, fine. Now this is not just one of the usages. There are many other usages of an interface as well. Okay, now for example, out here I create a new class known as, say, testgame.java. Right? Yesterday I told you can create the objects of classes in Java. I had created the object of Firefox driver, Chrome driver. I also created object of this phone.java. From here we started everything. Fine. If I try to create the object of an interface in Java, if I write game g equals to new game, fine, you will get an error. This will not be successful. Okay, because you cannot create the objects of interfaces in Java language. It is illegal to create. Alright, you can create the objects of classes which are implementing the interface. You can write football f equals to new football. You can write basketball b equals to new basketball. Okay, you can call the functions f dot play, f dot score. Similarly, basketball b dot play and b dot score. Right. So when you run this, it prints playing football, scoring in football, playing basketball, scoring in basketball. Alright. Fine. Now out here, okay, if I introduce a new function in football, if I write, say, public void get team members. Okay, now this is a function which is only for the football class. It is not coming from the interface game. Alright, fine, right? Or something like say some other function which is unique for football, something like penalty kick, something like this. Okay, this is the feature of only football class. Right, penalty kick is not a common part which is there in all the games. Fine, so football class is the only class which is implementing it. Okay, so in test game I can call this class over here f dot penalty kick as well, but obvious. Okay, with the object of the football class I can call this function. Alright, now when you run this, this will be called. Okay, the penalty kick, I'll just write football penalty. Okay, this is pretty simple, right? Okay, now comes a little tricky thing. Till now, how we have created the objects of the classes. I have written the class name, right? Class name reference equals to new class name. This is how I am creating the object of the class. Okay. You can also create it like this: interface reference equals to new class name which is implementing the interface. What I mean to say is that I can write game G equals to new football. This is little different. This is a little different than what I had written out here. This line and this line, they are different. Over here I was writing football f equals to new football. Over here I am writing game G equals to new football. Okay, the difference between them, these two lines, is that out here the references of the game interface, out here the references of the football class. With this, if you write like this, I can only access functions in football which are coming from game interface. I can write g.play, g.score, but I cannot write g.penalty kick because penalty kick function is actually which is of football class only. Football class owns this function. Okay, so g.penalty kick will be a function which is only for the football class, and if you create the object like this, you cannot access it. If you write interface name equals to new class which owns the interface, you can only access the functions which are there in the class coming from the interface. What is the use of this? What is the use of this? The use of this is that you can dynamically point this to any object. I can write something like this: game G1 equals to null. That means G1 is not pointing towards any of the object. Depending on the situation, I can make G1 point towards new football, or I can make it point towards the object of basketball. It's completely up to you. I think somebody is asking a question. No. Alright. Fine. So out here, this is a very important thing because in Selenium we'll be using this. Right. I'll include the Selenium jar files in the project. Fine. And I'll create a new class, Selenium example again. And in this I can write something like this, that is WebDriver equals to null. Fine. WebDriver is an interface, and all the drivers they are pointing towards, or all the drivers are implementing this interface. You can point driver towards new Firefox driver depending on your requirement. Okay, or you can point it towards new Chrome driver, whatever it is. I can set the system properties like I did yesterday for Chrome. Hold on. And also for I. So you can point it towards Firefox driver, or you can point it towards Chrome driver, whatever you want, depending on the browser you want to test on. Okay, if you run this, both Firefox and Chrome will open up. Alright, now at times you have a requirement that you want to run the test on Chrome, or you want to run the test on IE, or you want to run the test on Firefox. Okay, so you write over here, say string browser name, say it is Mozilla, right? Later on I'll be reading this browser name from an external source like an Excel file or an XML file or a properties file, whatever it is. Right now I am just hard coding it in the code because I have not taught you how to read from these files. Depending on what the data is written in this file, that is, you want to test the application on Mozilla or IE or Chrome, you need to initialize the driver, or you need to open the browser basically. Okay, so you can keep a check over here that if the browser name is equal to Mozilla, then initiate the Firefox driver. Else, if the browser name is equal to Chrome, right? If the browser name is equal to Chrome, fine, initiate it to Chrome driver, right? And if you, or you can also write like this, else if the browser name is equal to I, right? Okay, so after the initialization is done, depending on the type of browser you want, that browser will open up. If I run this set of code will open up Mozilla. Fine. If I change this to Chrome, this will open up Chrome. So depending on my requirement, depending on, you see that Chrome is open. Depending on what type of browser is being read from the external data source, okay, that particular browser is opening. And now you can navigate that browser to a particular website. You can write driver.get say google.com. Get function is the part of all the drivers because all the drivers are implementing the WebDriver interface. So when you run this, the respective browser will open and it will go to the website. Any questions on this? Any questions on whatever I have explained so far? Any questions? Are you able to understand the importance of interface?
I have one question. Still, you didn't tell us why you are creating the class in game.java. You said you can create in like football or basketball by itself. Then also it's better to make a game as well. Yes. You create a class in game and then the same class in football, same class in basketball. If you could
Yeah.
game, and you said there's going to be advantage if you create game like separate and have the same one on basketball.
Look, game is first of all an interface. It tells you what a game will do.
Okay. Football and basketball.
Pardon?
You did the same thing in football and basketball.
But I implemented the functions in football and basketball.
Okay, well you are doing in two places.
Yeah, the same functions are there at both the places. This is because the class is implementing the interface game. You got my point?
Okay, and okay, for game we create those public classes. Then you go to football, right? And you okay, now you have the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the same thing over here. The implementation is different, right? This SOP line is different.
Okay, but you have a public void play or public void score in game and in football as well.
Yeah, that is the main motive, right? That is the advantage. The name remains the same. Okay, name remains the same. Okay, that is the advantage. That's what we want.
Okay, that's what we should do.
Yeah, in Selenium as well, WebDriver is the interface. Okay, read it. It is an interface. And all the drivers, they are implementing the WebDriver interface. So all these drivers will have the same set of functions.
Okay.
Okay, that's why in this class over here, when you write driver.get, get is a function which is available with every driver. So no matter what type of browser you have, fine, this get function will take the browser to that URL.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
So this is the importance of in Selenium, right? I told you this WebDriver is an interface, and all the classes are implementing this interface. This is the importance of this thing in Selenium.
Yeah, okay, good. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So everything, the root, it starts from the interface WebDriver. Okay. This interface WebDriver is the root. This is the entry point. All right. So now, moving further. Okay. You open the browser of your desired choice. You initialize the WebDriver to null, and depending on the type of browser you had to open, you open the browser and you are taking it to the website google.com. Fine. After taking it to the website google.com or any website, say gmail.com, suppose you have to interact with the elements of that page. Okay, how will you do that? Fine. Look, there are various Anju, name. You can do that, Anju, but the dot equals function is more advisable when you are using string comparison. You use dot equals in Java. It compares the values. Alright, fine. Now, how does Selenium work? How will it go and identify stuff on your page? Okay, look, first of all, technically everything on a web page is known as an object, or in Selenium we also call it web element. For example, a link. A link is categorized in object. A link is categorized under web element. Fine. You call it anything. You can call it an object. You can call it a web element. Fine. So how Selenium goes and identifies the objects and web elements on the pages? How does it work? Fine. Well, to make it work, if you look at the view source of the page, fine. Now this is the normal page source which is there for any web page. Selenium goes and identifies the objects from this page source. This page source is nothing but an HTML language page. Okay, this page is nothing but an HTML language page, and if you look at this page source, then there are tags, like this is a tag, this is a tag. All the stuff which you see in the maroon red color is a tag. Okay, for example, I'll just increase the font. Yeah, for example, over here, this is an anchor tag. It represents a link. It starts with A. Every tag has set of attributes associated with it. For example, this is a div tag. Class is an attribute. Okay, this is a para tag. Class is an attribute over here. This is link again. The name is an attribute. Alright, every tag has got one or more than one attributes, or zero or more than zero, any number of attributes. They can be associated with the tag. For example, this is an input tag which is having three attributes: name, type, and value. Alright, so with Selenium, when you have to identify the objects, you go forward and look at the tag name, and then you look at the attributes, and then this is how Selenium identifies the objects. Okay, if you look at, for example, first of all, you know what, to analyze the web pages and all, in case of Mozilla, it's better you go and install a tool known as Firebug. Okay, go to Google and type Firebug download and go and download Firebug from this machine, from this URL. Most of you might be having Firebug. Firebug is a tool which helps you to, the third link, this one, this is good, which helps you to analyze your source of the page very easily. This is the link. Please ignore the above one. I gave another link on Webex chat. Okay.
Can I ask you another question in the meantime?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are just explaining how to capture the objects property. Is there any feature in Selenium that can capture the object, like in Qt is called object exploit?
No, it's a free tool. You have to do everything yourself. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So this Firebug helps a lot. All right. You click on add to Firefox button over here. It will be downloaded, and you'll get a window like this. You click on install, and then you have to restart your Firefox. Once you restart it, you go to tools. You will get Firebug over here. You open it. All right. With Firebug, you can analyze the web pages. There will be an arrow out here. This is the arrow. Okay, you click on that arrow, and wherever it's something like object spine QTP but little different, select the HTML tab over here. Fine, and wherever you move the arrow, you'll get the corresponding HTML code. For example, I move my arrow over this Firebug text, so I get this text. This is the text. This is inside a span tag which has got an attribute item prop. Fine. Okay. Similar thing can also be done with the help of in Chrome. My PC has got a little, yeah. In case of a Chrome, if you have to analyze a page, it's inbuilt. Chrome Inspector is there. which is inbuilt. Alright, you just have to say, for example, this is the text over here. I will chair BCCI's AGM, right? If you right click on this text and select inspect element, then this particular element will be highlighted on the page. Okay, fine. So in Chrome you can inspect it like this. Alright, and in case of Chrome, if you hit F12, then this window automatically comes. Alright, in case of IE, you can again hit F12 and IE developer tool, it opens up, you can inspect it. But you know what, the page source is something which will remain same in all the browsers if your developer has made the website in a good way. Like if the website opens up in the same way in all the three browsers, the page source will remain same, it never differs. There is hardly any website which opens up differently in different browsers. Okay, so if an object is having a particular tag or particular you can say attributes associated with the tag in one particular browser, the same properties will also be there in another particular browser. Okay, you don't think that the way you identify an object, if you have to click on a link, say this link in IE, and then you afterwards you have to click on this link in Chrome, then the identification mechanism for this link in IE and Chrome will be different. No, it's not like that. Alright, so now moving further, I'll come over to that, Dhananjay. Firepath is the way where you get XPaths. I'll come over to that. Okay, now hold on, yeah, alright. Now if you look at this page, fine, this is the page which is opened up in Chrome, right? There is a particular page source and you have to investigate this page source to identify the objects, and the best is Firefox. Firefox has got a very good add-on known as Firepath, which helps you to investigate your pages very effectively. Alright, now there are various mechanisms in which you can identify the objects in case of you can say Selenium. Okay, if you go to Selenium documentation, seleniumhq.org, look, DOM is nothing but the page source is called DOM as well, document object model. You can parse it. Alright, this is the Java document. Okay, now out here you have something known as Webelement. Okay, Webelement is actually an interface. Again, I told you WebDriver was an interface. I told you Webelement is an interface. Okay, WebDriver is the interface which deals with the browsers. All the browser classes, they implement the WebDriver interface. The Webelement interface deals with the objects. Right? If you look at this interface, you have functions like click, which will click on any element on the page, on any object on the page, or clear, if you want to clear the value of text field, is displayed, get the text, right, get size is enabled. I think the names, they justify themselves over here. Okay, so how do you use this interface? In the WebDriver interface, you have a function known as find element, which returns you the web element on the page. For example, over here I'll write driver.getgmail.com on the Chrome browser. Okay, then I will write driver.find element. When I write driver.find element, this means that find an element on the page. Okay, and with what criteria? If you write by is a class inside Selenium, and all the fields inside that class are static. Okay, this class contains various locator strategies. That means various ways in which you can identify the objects. Okay, the most common way or the most easiest way is the ID. You supply the ID of an object and you find it. Alright, ID is an attribute which can be present or cannot be present with an element. I took the example of Gmail. If you go to Gmail and if you look at the Gmail page in Firebug, right, this is the username field, right? Why am I taking the example of this very common page is because the developers of this website are good. They have given IDs to everything. This is the object input tag, and this input tag has got an ID. ID is generally supposed to be unique. The ID of this field is email. So you can write over here driver.find the element by the ID email. This will find the input field on the page. Okay, so find element function is inside the WebDriver interface and implemented by all the classes, and it returns you the object reference of web element interface. Okay, so you write web element username is this, and what do you have to do with username? You can write a username dot clear the username field, click on the username field. What you have to do? Get the size of the field. Okay, or send keys will type into it. You can type anything inside the username field. Okay, so when you run this will open up Mozilla and Chrome, and will type in hello. Same code. In the same code, if I change the browser to Mozilla over here and I run this, the same code will open up Mozilla and go and type hello inside the Gmail homepage. You see that? Right? So basically the page source remains the same. The ID of email of the field remains the same across all the browsers. Right? That's why I am able to identify it easily.
Ashish, I have a question regarding the object property. So here you captured the object property is called email, right?
Yeah.
Let's say there are 2 or 3 objects has the same property. How do you identify it separate?
Look, generally ID is supposed to be unique. Fine, but if in case there are 2 fields on the page which are having the same ID, the developer did a mistake. What Selenium will do is that if you read the description, find element finds the first web element using the given method. It will use the first element found. When Selenium scans the page, it scans it from the left to the right side like this. So if there are 2 objects, one object is present here, another is present here, and both have the same ID, Selenium will use this one. What if you have to use the second one? I will talk about that. I talk about that as we proceed.
Okay.
Fine. Okay.
Yes.
So find element will find the first one. Okay. And the most easiest way to identify an element is if the element has got an ID or a name. This element on the Gmail page has got both. It's got an ID as well as name. Generally, these elements, they are unique. These attributes, they are unique. Every element will have a different ID or a different name. So if the developer is good, he'll give you the ID or name. But it is not possible to give an ID or name to every object. Okay. For example,
isn't that safe to give more than one or two object properties so that they can identify?
No, that is up to the developer, right? If the developer has not given, you cannot do anything. Okay. So it's completely up to the developer. What if the developer had just written input tag, that's it, and suppose the type is email, that's it. He would have given no name or no ID. Then we would be forced to use some other identification mechanism. For example, the text out here. Experience the ease and simplicity of Gmail everywhere you go. If you look at this text, then this text is inside an H4 tag which is having this class, and this is the text. There is no particular ID, name or unique identification property for this particular text. So how do we identify that? Or if you look at, suppose this button, add to Firefox. If I identify this button, then this button is a link. There is no ID or there is no name to this button. So how do I identify this? Okay,